Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I'd like to talk to you about folding knives. So there's this idea that a folding knife is not a good self-defense tool, and for some reason or another that seems to be largely a result of the popularity of fixed blades in today's current kind of landscape. And obviously a fixed blade is a great defensive tool, but that doesn't make a folding knife not a good defensive tool. So let's talk about a couple things that would make a folding knife a good defensive tool. First, it's convenient. It's easy to carry. One of the things that I tell people is that no matter where you are, no matter what your viewpoints are, you still have to follow the law. So in some states, having a fixed blade, no matter the length or the type, is still illegal. But a folding knife is not. So right off the bat, you're starting to think, is my state one of the states that prohibits fixed blades? Maybe, maybe not. Also, the types of fixed blades can also be prohibitive. So you really need to make sure that you understand the law before you just go willy-nilly down that path. Now, after you have made the decision to carry a folding knife, one of the nice things about a folding knife is it's so commonplace. You literally can find a folding knife in just about everybody's pocket, particularly in this industry. Why? Again, it's convenient, it's easy, it's also accepted, right? It's not quite so, I guess the word I'm searching for is offensive to actually have a folding knife on you when somebody can see it. It's just a normal everyday tool that people don't realize can be used in the right hands as a defensive tool. So with that being said, one of the things that you look for is how is the blade carried, right? So one of the things that we talk about is the types of clips that are available. So here I'm using an Emerson training blade, and you can see that it has this pocket clip that allows me that when it's closed to carry it conveniently in the corner of my pocket. So I like that. That's a great tool. Here I have a Benchmade Griptilian, and this has the ability to take the clip from one side and mount it on the other side, thereby making this both a right-handed and left-handed version. So that's also a nice thing to keep in mind. When you're looking at convenience, the pockets, one of the things that I tell people to avoid is don't try to take a right-handed blade and put it in your left-handed pocket. So the right-handed blade is going to be secured, the edge of the blade is going to be secured by the corner of your pocket. If I take this and move it over to the other side, I can see this blade tip open up accidentally as I'm inserting my hand. I find it all of a sudden a little bit of a painful situation. So after you've decided on, carry, the other thing that I talk about is that you've got a couple of different composites for the handles. Here I've got this nice textured, here I've got a different type of texture. This is going to be personal preference. While the Emerson blade is going to be a little bit heavier, this one is going to be a little bit lighter. So I've got to kind of keep that in mind. If I'm going to go out in just a regular pair of PT shorts, this might find its way into my waistband just simply because it's a much lighter thing. Now the next thing that we talk about after we've talked about the handle themselves is the opening method. So here I've got a T-post, which is basically just this disc that sits on top of the blade itself. The idea here is that I use my thumb to actually push up with a nice positive engagement with my thumb on that post to allow it to open. Here I have a thumb drive, I have a thumb stud, which allows me to just take my thumb in the same manner and push it up. Both of these are accessible from the right and left side, but you'll notice how on the right side of the Emerson I have a little bit of a cutout, which makes it a little bit easier for me to get to it. Can I still get to it on my left side? I can, but it's a lot harder. The next thing we talk about are the types of locks that are available, and there are a lot of different types of locks. Here with the Emerson we've got what's called a liner lock, which is this spring steel that is actually going to spring into the pathway, preventing the blade from actually closing. Now what I have to do is I actually have to move my hand in front of the pathway of the blade to disengage this. So we want to make sure that we do that in a safe manner, and we'll talk about that at the very end. The next is this axis lock. So this axis lock is a bar that comes straight across, so I can go ahead and push back, close the blade, and be able to safely open or close that blade. The last one is what's called a spine lock, which is actually a piece of steel that goes in the back, which actually once the blade opens it locks into place, which means that you have to press it to defeat it in order to close. After you've talked about the carrying clip method, the type of handle, then you talk about the opening system, whatever they might have. We talk about the locks. The next thing that we talk about is going to be the blades themselves. So These inert trainers are kind of like mimicking certain types of blade styles. This right here is a Tonto, and this would be a spear point. Now there's a lot of other types of blade options, blade design options, but these are going to be the two most popular. And they have their pros and cons. Honestly, they're going to work regardless of what you're doing. If you use any amount of force or any amount of pressure, you'll find that they're going to puncture or slash depending on what style of, what type of defensive method that you're using. So I don't get too wrapped around the axle with what type you have. A lot of that is going to be personal preference. But the question comes up is, do I go with a combination blade? Do I go with a serrated blade? Do I go with a plain blade? And again, that's going to be personal preference. Combination blades, I don't have, that means they're combining serrations with the flat edge. I don't have a lot of use for that. If I'm going to need a serrated blade, I want a serrated blade. But if I don't need that serrated blade, then I want the flat blade like I have in these models. One of the other things that we talk about with regards to the blade is it a two-sided or a single-sided blade? Again, you're going to have to know the law. Some states make it prohibitive item to have a double-edged type blade. So you're going to want to make sure that you study the law and understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. Now, the last thing that we talk about is going to be whether or not your live blade, so here I have an example of a live blade, comes with a trainer. So here I have the exact same live blade and the actual trainer. When it comes to the blade selection, what type of knife that I'm looking for, I want to make sure that I can actually find a live and a trainer, so that the trainer allows me to work on my deployment sequence. It allows me to work on the various templates, the various tacks, all the types of things that I might need to use. I can now practice with an actual role player using an inert training blade to ensure a safe training environment. So the last thing we talk about is cost. Some knives are going to be a lot less expensive than others. When you start looking at some of these features that you see in these knives, they're going to get up there in the price range. Again, make sure that you are aware of all of the features that are out there and pick the features, or pick the knife with the features that most support the needs or the purpose that you're trying to choose a knife for. And then, of course, my biggest thing is, does that live blade come with, or can I obtain a trainer? All right, I'm Jeff Gonzalez. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.